Yeah. Welcome to all. ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರೆ, ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಬಂದು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ GS ದೀಕ್ಷಿತ್ ಅವರ ದತ್ತಿ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸದ ಅಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ SK ಅರುಣಿ ಡೆಪ್ಯೂಟಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟರ್ ICHR ಇವರು ಮಾತಾಡಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವರ ವಿಷಯ ಬಂದು ಫೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ, ಟ್ರೇಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಆಫ್ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಕೋಟೆಗಳು, ರಕ್ಷಣಾ ವಾಸ್ತು ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ತಂತ್ರಜ್ಞಾನದ ಇತಿಹಾಸ, ಈ ಶೀರ್ಷಿಕೆ ಅಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳನ್ನ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ವಿ ಅನುರಾಧ ಅವರು. ಇವರು ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರಾರ್ ಇವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಯೇಷನ್, ಮಹಾರಾಣಿ ಕ್ಲಸ್ಟರ್ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮಿಥಿಕ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿ ಸದಸ್ಯರು. ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಜಯಸಿಂಹ ಸರ್. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. I'm very happy to know that the first lecture series of 2021, online lecture series number 1, is by Dr. SK Aruni, Deputy Director, ICHR, SRC Bengaluru. And I'm happy to know that he is giving the first lecture series, and the first program is done by you this year. I wish you all the very best to you, sir, Aruni sir. And I wish good luck to you, sir, for this program and for your future endeavors. I want to first introduce, GS Dikshit, sir. Professor Girish Sridhar Dikshit was born in a learned priestly family in Harihar on the banks of Tungabhadra River on January 10th, 1911. Professor Dikshit was like the shrine of his native place, representing both sides of history, Western, Eastern, Harihareshwara, which stands for the unity of Vaishnava and Shaiva sects. Professor Dikshit had to struggle hard to complete his education from primary to university. He had to move to a very remote place, Parlakimedi in Orissa, for job, and Wellington College, Sangli in Maharashtra. Worked with other senior colleagues like Professor R.S. Mughali, Professor V.K. Gokak, and Professor R.S. Sharma. Joined Karnataka University, Harvard in 1955 and completed doctorate, and he retired as professor and head of the Department of History in 1971. He was senior Fulbright fellow at Wisconsin-Madison, USA, and visiting professor at Toronto University, Canada. Guided 20 students in their PhD work. He authored 9 books, hundreds of research articles and lectures in Kannada and English. He edited a book on American history by Indian historian. Founder President of Karnataka Itihasa Academy, Bengaluru. He was known for his generosity, kindness towards student community. Scores of students remember his help in getting a studentship, a job, or a placement. He enjoyed good health, was active in editing, reading, writing till the very end, admired and respected by academicians and students alike, and he knew hundreds of them spread throughout the country and kept regular correspondence. Soft-spoken, he helped many to overcome their personal academic difficulties. Now, on this occasion, I'm very happy to introduce Professor Shri SK Aruni. Dr. Shivasharanappa K. Aruni, Deputy Director, Southern Regional Center of ICHR. Dr. Shivasharanappa K. Aruni is Regional Director of Southern Regional Center of the Indian Council of Historical Research, an autonomous organization under the Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India, New Delhi. Dr. Aruni got his master's degree in history, archaeology from Karnataka University, Dharwad in 1989. Later, he joined Deccan College, PG Research Institute for his doctoral research. The topic of his research was history and culture of Surapura Samsthana, 1650 to 1857, North Karnataka. Professor K. Paddaya of Deccan College was his research supervisor. Dr. SK Aruni has 20 years of service in research and administration in the ICHR. He has headed the Southern Regional Center of ICHR of Bangalore since 1998. He also served as officiating member secretary of ICHR from 2015 to 2017. He has attended several national, international conferences and seminars. His areas of research specialization include architectural history, archaeology, urban history, medieval South. Dr. S.K. Aruni has published several articles and 10 books, including Surapura Samsthana, Historical and Archaeological Study of Palagar State in South India. Bharatiya Kala Prakashana, Deccan, Delhi, 2004 has published this. And in Kannada, Dakkini Chitrakale, a survey of Deccan painting, Karnataka Lalita Kala Academy, Government of Karnataka, Bangalore, 2001. Yalahankanada Prabhugalu, Vastushilpa, Shilpakale, Architecture and Sculptural Art of Yalahankanada Prabhus, Bangalore University. The Bengaluru Parampare, Itihasa Samshodhanaya, Hosa Notagalu, Heritage of Bangalore, New Views from Historical Research, Itihasa Darpana Prakashana, Bengaluru. He has also helped many teachers like us to conduct all our academic activities from many years. We are here connected to him from past 20 years in all our academic endeavors, academic activities, not just me. Many professors like us, whenever we go to him, ask him for help for organizing our seminars, organizing our conferences, it was always Aruni who came forward, helped us in fixing up the guests, helping us in making the panels, giving us subjects. He was always helpful to teacher community. Whenever any scholar, any research scholar visits the library, he will be there ready to help them out in all their academic works. Therefore, I'm very happy to introduce my very good friend who has helped me in my own field work when I was doing my PhD. He has come with me many times for the temples, in making line drawings, making our survey easy, so that for many history teachers, for many history professors, for many history students, whoever goes to him for any kind of academic help, any kind of assistance needed, he will be there to help us out. I'm very happy to introduce him. Yesterday, when people in Mythic Society asked me to introduce, I said yes, I'll be very happy to introduce him. Therefore, it is a great opportunity given to me, the first work given to me after 2021, and I'll take this up with great happiness. I'm very happy to introduce you, sir. I wish you great success in all your endeavors. May God bless you, sir. Thank you, Aruni, sir. Thank you, Jai Simha, sir. Thank you, Mythic Society, for giving me this opportunity to introduce Professor Dikshit and also Dr. S.K. Aruni, sir. Thank you.
Jaisimar.
Ha, sir.
Jaisimar.
Hello, sir. You can go on, sir.
I would like to thank the Mythic Society for giving a very good opportunity for this academic discussion. In 2021, we are, as my friend Dr. Anuradha Madam said, this is the first lecture in the series. So I'm happy and also thank to the Mythic Society organizing committee, particularly the president of Mythic Society, Narahari sir, and honorary secretary sir, Dr. V. Nagaraj sir, and also my senior friend and vice president of Mythic Society, Dr. M. Kotresh sir, and Prasanna sir and Jaisimha. Because of their help, I could share my thoughts today. They invited me, and this is a great platform for me. Once again, I thank Mythic Society as well as my friends there. And also, I would like to thank Dr. V. Anuradha Madam introducing me in this program, and also our wishes. And also, I thank Bhargava. He's also in this program, and he is helping me for the program, technical helpings. So I thank once again all of you. Today I will be talking on the issue of forts of Karnataka, which my research area. I would like to share my screen share. That is a PPT. I will be talking with my PPT. Uh, I hope you are watching. My slides are coming. Friends, the very important aspect of history, that is a building technology. In India, the building technology is seen in the various forms, art as well as the utility purpose. We have a various, display of constructions as a temple, as our art. When we talk about the temple architectural technology, we consider as a art expression. When it comes to the building technology, civic technology, which we come across, the major part is the defense architecture. Uh, this is the one aspect in India you get everywhere. Forts is a common building technology, building in India. Uh, that's why it is a one of the basic technology, or the development of our Indian technology can be viewed, and also we can also understand how building technology has developed in India. Forts are built not only in the uh, on the lands. It is also built on the hills. Many literary sources also available on the construction methods, as well as the construction of the forts, the construction of the defense architecture from the ancient period to the modern period. This is the one good aspect for any part of this India, or any period of India, can easily understand and also can easily document the technology of the building of the defense architecture. The defense is the major part of our civilian society. Without defense, there's no civilization can survive. First, the priority is the most priority after the food is the defense. That's why this is one of the important aspect of our throughout history. We get from the ancient, antiquity, from way back to the Neolithic period, where we have a defense tools were used. Those are meant for not only the killing the animals, they are also protecting themselves from the enemy, or from wild animals. Some kind of protection is required, so they started using the defense, the tools. Then slowly they have started using the various elements which can be protect the civilization. That can be a fire, that can be different shape of walls. All these things actually required when you look at the from the ancient to modern period. The priority which is given to the defense as also protection throughout the history. I just go very rapidly how ancient, from the ancient period we have various literature, particularly Arthashastra, Kautilya's Arthashastra we usually recommend. You can see many aspects of defense system, advocates, and how he recommends what kind of fort should be built by the kings. That typological aspects he has divided into 5. That is Tala Durga, that is a land fort; Giri Durga, hill fort; Vanadurga is the forest, surrounded by the forest; Jaladurga is the surrounded by the water, that can be islands; and Naradurga is surrounded by the people. So these are the 5 classifications based on the available construction typology. Kautilya he advocates to build by the kings to protect the people of the kingdom. And also we have other types, other literature also, ancient literature talk about the various the typological, particularly in the later text also talks about the the battle which is surrounded by the chariots called Ratha Durga. When you in the battle, you make yourself as a one kind of fortified by the chariots surrounding, so that it can protect the inside the people. Like in a Chakravivya we have Panka, I know that is a mud fort. We get here. So like that, various typological Mishikota is also in mixed various multi-purpose forts. So literature in Indian literature talks large quantity of other defense architecture, various typological form and all classifications based on the available sources. So these are the from the ancient times. In India we have a tradition of building the technology, that is a defense architecture. From the ancient period we can get. So my topic today, I'll be talking about the only Karnataka. How Karnataka we can get, what are the kinds of forts we can get here. Karnataka is a unique land. I'll just mention that it's not just one major part is a coastal area. You can get the entire western edge from the Belgaum to Karwar, Gokarna. Then you can Kannada districts, Udupi, up to Mangalore. Then you enter the the biggest the Maidan area in the eastern part. That's the you get here. So this is the variety of landscape. Actually, we get in Karnataka. That's why we get a number of forts in Karnataka. The uniqueness, like otherwise if you go to the Maharashtra, we have there also Western Ghat, particularly Maratha forts, what we call Maratha forts. You get number of Maratha forts on the hillocks, big hills. So it's reaching a hills very difficult there. Whereas in Karnataka we have a similar pattern. Like in Western Ghats we have a very big, large scale forts are there. Nagara is there, Kavale Durga is there, Mirjan is there. Various, forts on the Western Ghats you can get here. And also we have coastal Karnataka where the number of forts also from the ancient to modern we can get. Even Mangaluru is one of them. Goa is there. We have various forts in the coastal Karnataka. And when you come to the, Mysore Plateau, eastern range hills, and you get a number of variety of landscape, just actually provide the platform for the defense, particularly settlements which is defended enclosed by the defense walls. So that's why it's a Karnataka is a one important place where we have a various different demonstration of defense architecture, particularly fort architecture we can get in Karnataka. So this is just to glance of the my this to show that how landscape is looked there. You can get a different landscape. Hills are there. Within the hills we get the valleys, deep valleys, greeneries, and sometimes here barren lands. We have a this kind of landscape which we usually we get here. That's why it is interesting for us to understand how the forts of Karnataka is visible and documented there. I'll be in this my topic. I'll be talking how the Indian Karnataka defense architecture we have seen through various aspects of the technology part, the particularly how the study has been done by the scholars. I'll be talking all these things in this my. So I will enter. Uh, Actually, how much we have studied, that I want to just to kind of a stock taking. How much we have done. Who are the scholars who have contributed for understanding of the fort architecture. So I'll just very shortly I just finished my way back in 19th century, when forts were constructed throughout the history, but the idea of documenting and studying the defense architecture we get in the 19th century. In the late 19th century we get colonial army, particularly British people. They came here and they saw various different defended places are there. So they were amazed to see them, and they have documented some of the forts, whatever they have seen, particularly those who come across in the war field. when they encountered large fort walls, they were amazed and they documented those maps also prepared. Sometimes they have given a descriptions how where are the gates, how to enter the forts. So that documents actually provides the first element of study of the Karnataka forts in Karnataka. So in that manner, you can get the best information on the forts of Bangalore, Chennaraipatna, Srirangapatna, because British Army was coming to the entering to the Mysore area, particularly Tipu's Hyder and Tipu. So they have documented and they have made up maps of that, and that is the fourth angle. When the Tipu was defeated and was killed, the British Army, they took the vast survey that is called Mysore survey. Colonel Mackenzie and others, they have documented. They were afraid of the forts, because in the northern part, where the northern Shumaga, Chitradurga area, they were assigning the lands were combined with the Nizam one side and Marathas one side. They were afraid that again this area, Tipur area, suppose British they have taken, if the enemies they occupy that one, forts they were undertaken, then they lose the major part. They wanted to document and they verify whether they can be reused. In that manner, Colonel Mackenzie was appointed as survey general, and he surveyed some of the maps, some of the forts there, and he has given an inventory how the forts is there, what are the gates are there, what are the walls are there, or what are the buildings are there. He has prepared an inventory, which he also recommends this can be used, reused, and they have to pattern has to be changed according to their requirement. He has given all the details. That is a second important documentation, which is a really important for understanding of the pre early colonial period. I just mentioned the year, and all of us we know Buchanan's the biggest documentation of the survey of documentation of Mysore, Canara, Malabar area, from the Madras to Malabar. He has surveyed and he has traveled throughout this area, and he has documented whatever he has come across on his survey. He has documented. These are the primary information for us at present. And according to the sources, you'll be amazed to see that there are reports in the British records. In the Mysore itself, there were records of 4,740 forts in the Mysore state alone. That was in 1840. I'm talking of 1840, means almost mid of the 19th century. There were in Mysore 4,740 forts. These are recorded. It means that most of the villages, most of the hobelis, and most of the important strategic locations, they were all fortified. One or another type of forts were constructed. That can be ancient, that can be medieval, that can also be early modern, that can also be in the 19th century. But most of the settlements, important settlements, and some of the strategic locations, they were constructed with the forts. They were, you can number them. 4,700 forts were there in the Mysore state alone. Imagine in entire Karnataka, it can be double, it can be triple. So it means around more than 10 to 15,000 forts were there in Karnataka. If you look at the present context, we have only less than if you calculate very systematically, whatever remaining are there, very less are there. That can be only some 5,000 forts, maybe less than 5,000 forts which is available. This is just to show that this is Colonel Mackenzie prepared a map, survey map, which is a survived. Only one map is available in British Library. In this map you can just see this is a Uttridurga, Magadi, this area. He has Kunigal, entire this area. He has marked the forts. Wherever the forts are there, he has marked with the fortifications, and also hill forts he has marked with the red colors. Magadi, you can see square Magadi fort is there. So this kind of documentation, Colonel Mackenzie will help us for a student of building technology or civil architecture or defense architecture study students. Will locate them how many forts within this particular area, within the valley, within the hills area, within the settlement area, that can be calculated. And these are the primary source for any one of the students are there. One example, I'll just show how important here, Bengaluru fort at present. If you go to the Bengaluru, if you ask Bengaluru fort, is only small remnant is remained there. 98% of the fort has completely we have lost. Only 2% of the old fort of Bangalore is remained at present. Only 2% which is in the KR market. You can just see when you see a KR market fort is only 2% of the Bangalore old fort. Imagine 98% of the fort, how it could be, it would have been there. We can't imagine there because we don't have any evidence. But these maps will surely help us understand how the Bangalore fort was there in the early colonial period. So that's why it is very interesting for us understanding of old documents and reinvent them. We have to restudy them. We can get a better understanding of the landscape, settlement pattern. We can understand the medieval pattern of society. We can also understand how technology, how the distance was, taken. So one example, I'll just show you that, the old record from Bengaluru to Hyderabad, the survey, Colonel Mackenzie's survey records the on the wherever they traveled. On the travel, they have marked the wherever the forts are there, whatever the settlements are there. This is from Bengaluru to in a Nizam area, that is through Bengaluru, Yelahanka, then Doddaballapur, and then it goes to the Gauribidanur area. That is a travel route. He has marked there, Mackenzie, and he has mentioned that Doddaballapur there is a fort there. He has marked with a sketch map with the two fortified defense walls. Within that, the old settlement was there, Doddaballapur. You can imagine this Doddaballapur was there. At present, Doddaballapur, we have no information about the fort at all. Only name is there, Kote, Anjane, Kote, Srinivas Temple. Like that, in the name of fort, you get this idea. But in fact, these documents will help us that layout of the city, layout of the old forts, or what are the forts area that you can understand. This is another Mackenzie which I already mentioned. One interesting, Anaji is in the Davanagere Jille, the district. Old map of the this one. You can imagine how this old map was the important. Now at present, if you go there, you don't get anything there. Nothing is there available there. So that's why it's very important for us. Hello. Sorry. Similarly, after the fall of one Mysore area and after the defeat of Marathas in 1818, the Dharwad area and Belgaum Jilla and Bijapur districts that were also documented by the British Army. 1818, very good maps are there. Badami, Bagalkot, you Dharwad, you can go to Bijapur. All the forts were documented with well documented, and they have recorded each monument, each structures they have documented in the map. So this will this also another important this after the Marathas. And we have another one, archaeological historical studies began in early 2nd century. As a student of scholar, as a student of history, as a student of archaeology, the forts were started studying as a matter of understanding of the architecture. The best architectural study of the fort is a Bijapur. That is a Meadows Taylor and Ferguson. They documented a book called Architecture at Bijapur, an ancient Mohammedan capital in Bijapur, Bombay present. This is the book which was published in 1866. It was published, and in that they have given a very beautiful plan of the city. They have documented each one of the palace, each one of the fort area. They have documented there, and also similarly, contemporary Srinagarpatna was also well documented by British. We have various maps of the Srinagarpatna. Bangalore, Srinagarpatna, Mysore area, and we have these are the early documents which is the then archaeological reports of Hyderabad, Karnataka, particularly Ghulam Yazdani, he undertakes the describing the forts in the Gulbarga, present Yadgir and Gulbarga Raichur districts. That is a Yadgir, Shahpur. He has documented the Gulbarga Fort, Bidar Fort. He has documented there. Another one is a monumental book monograph is on Bidar. Its history and monuments by Ghulam Yazdani. It was published in 1947. Then later we have a this similar annual reports of archaeological survey of Mysore, BL Rice. All of us we know MER reports are one of the major source for the documentation of the forts in Mysore region. So this is another important, number of forts like Madhugiri, Srinipattana, Medigesi, Chitradurga. Most of the forts have been described by the R. Narasimhachar, M. H. Krishna, Sheshadri, and others. So then major study of the Karnataka forts where Sidney Toy is another scholar who traveled from the Europe, and he went on many forts of Karnataka, India. He has published 2 books. One, Strongholds of India, 1957, and another 1965, he has published 45 cities. In that, he has included Karnataka forts like Raichur, Gulbarga, Bidar. Some of the forts have been included in his book. So that's why it's a very interesting. Now at present, if you go there, you don't get. Second one is in 1961, J.N. Kamlakar published the Deccan Forts, very small book. It covers some of the Bombay Karnataka region, and also we have later on, QGM's very important publication is the 1930 publication of QG Mythic Society Journal. Has a very beautiful article on vestiges of Kummata. It was by Ram Sharma. Very important, significant contribution, and particularly for those who understand the pre-Vijayanagara defense architecture. This is the best article I would recommend there. Another one is French scholar Fisher Claus. He has published one small article on Firozabad, the Bima and its environments. It was published in Islamic Culture Journal, 1955, and as a PhD topic for the first time in Karnataka, it was taken as a challenge work by S.K. Joshi. He's an archaeologist, retired from the Archaeology of India. Now he lives in Dharwad. His PhD thesis was on defense architecture of early Karnataka. This was published 1985. So this PhD was the first, and also he has documented the Vijayanagara, Banavasi, Malakhed, Sanati, and Hampi. So he has confined up to the end of Vijayanagara. That is an interesting PhD thesis. They have also published. The another one is after the from the beginning of 20th century, scholars began to study the fall of Vijayanagara and Battle of Talikot. So Sewell's famous book, Forgotten Empire, led to the study of military system, Vijayanagara, because everybody started working why Vijayanagara failed to, because it was so much energy they had, and why suddenly there was a collapse of the Vijayanagara. They started looking at the defense architecture, because that was the major weakness, or maybe the power of the medieval rulers that led to the fall of Vijayanagara. That's scholars they started. A number of scholars they started taking a PhD topic as a force as a PhD topic. The best example is Dr. M. Kotresh and Sujata Patil, Shambhulinga Vani, and others. They have documented district-wise, like Bellary, Raichur, Kappada, Yadgir, many places they have studied. So this is another interesting study they recently we come across. And next one is 1990. Professor Padaya has published one small article, very significant article, published in Islamic culture towards archaeology of medieval. This is a combined solely Shorapur Doab area. That's around 11 forts have been documented. Another is George Michel's work on Vijayanagara architectural inventory. That's the important documentation. And also he has extensively worked on the defense architecture, the forts of Deccan, particularly Firozabad. He has one monograph on that. The Vijayanagara courtly style has been published, and also recently, Rob he has published Vijayanagara defense architecture. It has been published recently. So that's another one significant works. One important, and later recently the Barry Lewis, very famous scholar from America. He has worked on the British colonial old documents. Based on the old documents, British assessment of Tipu Sultan's hill forts in the northern Mysore. This is one of the best work on the, and also Chitradurga, which is published by our Bengaluru Center ICHR, and he has a number of work on the pre-colonial defense architecture, the forts, particularly forts of Tipu either, and also which is recorded by the British records. He has documented and he has rechecked with them. So Another one is in Kannada. The famous book is Channabasappa C.S. Patil's book on the Karnataka Kotegal. It was published by Hampi Kannada Vishwavidyalaya, Kannada University, Hampi, 1999. It is a series of articles he has used to publish in Diksuchi that is combined together and published by the Kannada University, Hampi, 1990. This is a very important publication in Kannada. It was published by the Hampi Kannada Vishwavidyalaya. So C.S. Patil is not with us now, but yes, is known as a scholar who worked on the forts. Another important recent Ballari Jilleya Kotegalu is by M. Kotesh. Is actually PhD research work, and Ballari Davanagere district he has worked. He has published from this book has been published from the Kannada University Hampi, and also he has constantly continued a study on the forts defense architecture. He has also contributed a small booklet on the Uchengi Durga for agriculture of India. So another work is Shambulingavani. He has also undertook as a PhD topic Yadgir Gulbarga districts. So these are the small rapid survey of studies on Karnataka forts. French scholar, he has recently from Pondicherry French Institute, 2 publications have come. Studies on fortification in India and this and 4 forts of Deccan. Very important for understanding of the particularly British period. So that's why French scholar Jean Deloche is I know we remember because he's a very old scholar, but recently has passed away. But he has published a very wonderful both in English as well as French. So just I will end with that. And the many students, many scholars have engaged themselves to understand and redocument the forts of various parts of the Karnataka. So from Hampi Vishwavidyalaya, from various universities they have undertaken. So now I think the scholars have taking challenges and surveying. So that's why it's very Karnataka is a place where we get a very good information on the various technological part as well as the architectural development and defense systems. It can be understood by the Karnataka. So second segment I will be talking now how which the early forts, how the history of forts, how we can understand from the ancient, from the just as technological part. I'll be talking about that. The development of architecture, development of technology, how we can see from the how it should be documented there. So recent archaeological, particularly Kurgodu, good friend Mahadev has, undertook the excavations. He has come across one very important painting which mentions the settlement area as a circular. So that is also scholar as archaeologist identified that is a indication of the settlement with a defense wall, or maybe it is a wall of the stone, or maybe wall of the wood. It can also be a small circular form of settlement. It indicates that it's a defense wall. So that can be taken as a beginning of the defense architecture in Karnataka. We have series of from the Chalukya, some Mauryan, when you hear of the Suvarnagiri, when you hear of the various places of Maurya, he mentions there. Like Brahmagiri, we have a Chutu, Shatavana, and Raktas, Kadambas. They have places that they have defended, they have constructed the forts. Sannati, it can be Banavasi, it can also be Brahmagiri, it can also be in various parts of places. We get early parts of that. So only survival forts are very from the ancient, very ancient, remote ancient is the Sannati and Banavasi. They are the on the banks of rivers. At present, still remained. They are built with the bricks as well as the some perishable materials there. So when you enter the second phase of the that is a Chalukyan period, we come across that Vatapi was the more fortified by the Chalukyas. So that is another interesting this one. I would like to mention that I just divided into the 4 phases. The defense architecture into 4 phases. Early phase, the ancient indigenous forts, simple, they were mud, stone walls were on the basement, and mud was extensively used for the construct the walls. Sometimes we come across, if you go to Santi, you can see that the projected bastion, it could be a square, we don't know it because of erosions. We are not able to understand how the bastions were, but however in the ancient period we have a square bastions, very low battlements, parapet walls. So these are the characters we can get. Second phase, we up from 13th to 17th century, there is a rapid change in the our pattern of construction. This I will be talking in the my lecture. And later on, third phase, I would like to assign the third phase from mid of 17th century to mid of 18th century. For 100 years, there is a lot of change in the particularly use of gunpowder and use of rifles. So there is the patterns has started changing. That can also be looked into third phase. The fourth phase, we come across the European army entering 18th century, and there is a lot of change in the our understanding of the, and also the forts became a symbol of powers. It became it's not only just a defending alone, it also became a symbols. Those who are the strong rulers, they will have a build big forts. If they have a middle, they will have a smaller one. And very poor dynasties or resources less, they will have small wadas like that. So this is the understanding of this one. I will be talking how early forts were there, how to differentiate early medieval and late medieval modern. So I'll just briefly mention that how we should look at the as a historian, as a scholar, the development we can just see them. The early period, that is a pre-Islamic period. I'm talking about the medieval period. The forts, most of the forts are very simple. They are, most of the times they are built on the river banks, like Sanati, like, you look at the, Banavasi, you look at the most of the Talakadu, you can look at the, Hanigal, you can look at the, so small, settlements with the fortified walls. Mostly they are land forts, Durgas. So land forts were preferred in the medieval period. More because they didn't want to go on the top of the hill and construct the fort because it's inaccessible to them. So they wanted to have a landscape where they can have a land forts there. So, and basically they are mud forts. Sometimes they are brick forts they are built, but they have walls are very low. It cannot be like, if you look at the forts of Bijapur, 30 feet, 40 feet height of the fort. It's very difficult to build, and it's not necessary in the early phase of the construction, because they want to just simple kind of a protected wall. Within the wall, there will be settlement, there will be houses, there will be street, there will be temples, there will be agraras within the fort area. That is the only the demarcation kind of things. This is a low wall forts usually built on the landscape, on the slope of the banks or open area. And more if you look at the construction methods, mostly they prefer to have a square bastions. Why the square bastions? Very simple, projected bastions bastion is burju. Burju means one fort wall is there, common fort wall is there, just a kind of a balcony kind of projected wall outside the projection, so that the person can come on the fort, this bastion, on the terrace of the bastion. He can look at the outer side of the fort wall, what are the activities are going on. So this is kind of projections where the enemy can be watched from there. So this is called bastions. Are very interesting, important. Later on, why they change also, I'll tell you later. And the another one is early phase of the forts are very small. Main gates are cardinal directions. If you look at the Warangal fort, it is a pre-Islamic period. Circular forts, and on the corner, on the four cardinal directions, on the four directions we have gates. When you enter from any four direction, you come to the center point of there is a palace area, or you can enter there, you can go around there. So this is a very small, and gates played very important on the this also indications how like a Brahma, how Brahma created a Brahma is looked at on four sides, faces are there. on the four side you can see them. Like that, the forts were built in the circular form, and the four side the person can, enemy can be, watched from the four side. So that is a fundamental the defense architecture in the early period phase of that. So gates were built similar temple door jump. Sometimes, if you go to the best example is Alabedu. If you go to the Hangal fort, if you go to the Warangal, doors are looks like a temples. The small jams, door beams and jams, and it looks like a temple doors, because that was the traditions, that was that style of building the gates. There was no arch. Imagine there was no arch. Arch means it's a later period. That has to be understood there. And simple battlements were there, and moats. Sometimes the forts are, of course, Kautilya recommends to build the any fort with the moats around that. But sometimes it depends on the resources. The moats are added, or sometimes without moats we can get. Mostly you get a moats in the most of the land forts. These forts actually, were served as a protection place for the kings. It's basically elite people, the important of the society. They are given a protection within the fort area. So this is the early phase. For example, Sanati, Malaked, Hangal, Highway. So you look at the early phase forts. If you want to see them, you go these places. You can get all the characteristic of the features are there. So one example, circular form. If you go to the forts are built with the mud. Sometimes the stones are on the base, and the center part is the fort. Four directions. Sometimes you come across gates. Magadi is the one of the best example. Land fort, on the four cardinal we have. And this is the Malaked fort. Of course, the renovated later period. You can just see square bastion there. Square bastion is like this. This is the fort wall. People are inside, but this is projected. Once those who come on the top of this, they can watch this kind of people who are working there, their activities. They can be looked at from the this is a. So this is a very land fort. How they look, very simple fort. You can just see the gates are very simple. Chajja is there, beam is there, and pilasters are there. So anybody can enter there without any doors. Sometimes they have doors. Sometimes square, very simple. There is no much people, just kind of a defense wall. So this is simplified with the beam and other things. You can. This is the early form of fort there. So I already mentioned that how we have sculptural evidence how the forts were constructed in the. Everybody we think that all forts are medieval fort. No, actually most of the forts are also ancient, very ancient. We come across the best example. We come across the depiction of forts in the hero stones. This is a Kalikari hero stone, which it depicts the fort wall. The army is fighting from the inside the fort as well as the attacking the fort. This is you can just see them here. This is an interesting part of the we think that our hero stone, which is give us another indication. Same place, people are standing on the fort wall. And the enemy is attacking from the outside. So this is the hero stone which depict the fort wall as well as the battle on the fort. So this is how we can understand the ancient period. Very simple. You can just see, I already mentioned, bastions are there. Some projections are. Parapet walls is very simple circular form. So and most of the times, ancient battles were face to face. There is nothing like firearms were not used. There are no hidden army or attacking they have to. One has to face directly. That's why in the ancient battles are usually the most of the places the defense walls never come across for the battle. They are face to face. They have to come together and they have to fight. So most of the times kind of use of swords, shields, wrestling. Sometimes these are the battle scenes you can get in the most of the Indian Karnataka hero stones that are there. So I'll go. Then we have started in the 11th century onwards, 11th 12th century on. There is a society started changing their pattern, the battle system also changed. There was a huge army, collection of army started. The army started attacking the places, so their settlement started coming and going away from the river banks. It's an open area, and they started a natural defense area, kind of hills, valleys they selected for settlements. That's why we come across Kumata, for example, Kampli. You go to the any eastern part of Karnataka, the settlement started preferring to settle in the hilly area, remote natural valleys are there, because in the natural valley you come across hills are there. The hill fed water, rain fed water, the accommodated on the valley. You just build a small dam, suddenly you get a water, bodies. So riverines, what do you call, reservoirs will be, tanks were started constructing in the most of the valleys, natural valleys, and that served for the multi-purpose. That can also be served for the drinking, everyday settlement drinking water, as well as the use of water, and also for the paddy cultivation. So there is a drastic change in the pattern that led to the settlements in the hills, and the hills became a important natural protected area. That small forts were constructed on the hills. Any enemy attacks on the village, suddenly they go to on the top and they get secured there. So that is they started using the stones for the construction of the forts, particularly hill forts, because naturally available there. So they have to cut the stones, they have to cut the boulders, and use for the construction of the walls. So slowly they use the patterns that started changing. A square bastion to semicircular bastion, and circular bastion and octagonal bastion they started constructing. This is one example. Even though this is the Vijayanagara Hampi fort, we think that they have actually continued the old traditional system. Now arches were not used. The fort walls are very massive, thick walls. Very simple square bastions. This is the Vijayanagara fort. The old tradition continued in the Vijayanagara. They did not change the according to their time, their the requirement. They did not change, but they could survive the old traditions. And later, this actually made the became a biggest cause for the defeat of the Vijayanagara. This is a one example. I just took it from there. And also we have a various stories, and we have a Sangatya in Kannada, and which gives a very drastic information, very important for information, how there is a change in the army pattern, the defense pattern, the battle patterns, how Delhi army, particularly medieval Delhi army, started marching towards the most of the settlements, and they conquering one after one, because they had the developed technology. The army had a technology that actually changed the pattern of our the concept of defense architecture. So Kumarrama Sangatya, if you read very carefully, you come across entire story, but entire story is based on the battles. In the battle, the defeats, and the various technology which is used by the defense Delhi army and local army, that can be looked from the point of as a architecture, as a technology point of view. This is the best example how the patterns from the ancient to modern, it can also be looked at from this Kumarrama Sangatya. So then there is a from 1300, very clearly we can come across the medieval pattern started. The two different settlements they started, citadel complex as well as the civilian complex. Two segments in the forts. The upper part is always used for the citadel complex, where the rulers will be occupied on the top secured area, and the down you come across the pete. That is a pattern we can get in the medieval pattern. And the rulers were started appointing kotwals, fort kotedar, kotekar, gurikar. These are the skilled worker they come across, and there is a change in the pattern of the construction. Town and the citadel, the two part of the, and most of the medieval forts are prepared to construct on the hills. That's why you come across most of the medieval forts are constructed on the hills, on the slope of the hills, foothills of the hills. So that's called Giridurgas, and which I'll be talking. The same pattern we come across, uh, and most of the forts in Karnataka, even in a part of any in our Indian subcontinents, if you talk about the forts, means that's the medieval. Anything you talk about the forts, that means you're talking about the medieval. Why we should associate the medieval system as a fort as a medieval system? Because number increased drastically from the ancient to the medieval, and from the 19th century there is no activities of construction of the forts. Construction activities completely stopped there after the the occupation of the British in the in South India, even North India also. But very rarely we come across fort construction, very rarely after 1800, because there was not necessary to build the forts in the late after 1800, 1850 onwards, because 1850 onwards there is a stop of construction. This all we are talking later. But why we should associate? Because most of the forts of the our Indian subcontinents are directly connected with the medieval period, because they were occupied, or they were renovated, or they reconstructed, or they reused in the medieval period. That's why most of the forts are associated, they get directly connection associated with the medieval period. That's another important. And all of us, we know Shivaji is known for construction of the forts. If you talk Maratha without fort, there is nothing history. You can't even imagine that there is no fort, there is no Maratha history. Similarly, Shivaji is associated with the if we say in Maharashtra, Shivaji means he is the constructor of the and the forts. If you delete the fort, there is nothing in Maratha history. So that's the interesting part of why we should associate with the medieval because Shivaji and others, they understood this necessary to hold the forts in their hands and the attack on the other enemies. So similar pattern also we can just see in Tipu period. If you ask the any Mysore area, Mysore region, from the old Mysore area, or even part of the Kerala and Tamil Nadu, wherever you go to come across, they say this fort constructed by Tipu. If you talk any forts in Tumkur district, Chittorgarh district, Bengaluru district, Mysore, they simply mention that this is a Tipu fort. Why Tipu fort? Because he did not build all the forts, but he understood the importance of the forts. He took he controlled them, and they renovated as per the requirement, and he actually used them. The use of the forts of the Shivaji and Tipu and such other important Nayakas, they understood the forts is where the power can be controlled there. So that's why the most of the forts are associated with the medieval character of society, and that medieval society actually basically they protected kind of a defense purpose they have constructed. This is an important aspect. If you look at the Mudra Vijayam, you talk about the any ancient, you Rayavachikamu, you can talk about all the most of the medieval literature also mentions about the construction of the large number of constructions of the forts. So I'll third my major point, I will be talking about how forts should be technological part, how they are there. The major features, how the forts constructions are major features are, they are very high walls. If you go to the Bijapur, if you go to the Bidar, if you go to the Gulbarga, if you go to the Mysore, if you go to the Srinagatpatna, if you go to any part, they have big high walls are the major feature of the fort. It can be circular, it can be square, it can be rectangular, any part of any kind of, but the walls are built very high and with big stones. In the basement, you have a large and heavy stones. When you go up on the top, most of the walls are tapering. When you go on the top, the wall thickness becomes narrow, and then become the their walls. The stones are built smaller stones, dress stones, and on the top you get a sometimes the parapet wall built with the mud, sometimes it built with these bricks. So this is the pattern of the walls you can get them. The most of the bastions are at a regular interval, 20 meter, 30 meter. They have fixed intervals. Each interval you get a projected bastions. It can be square, it can be rectangular, it can be octagonal, it can be semicircular, it can be complete circular. So bastions are primary important feature of the forts. So and third one is the moat. Moat is a common, most of the land forts you get in Bengaluru. You look at the old photograph, moat was there. Even Devanali, if you go there, moat was there. Badami, we have a moat there. We have a in Bijapur. We have in even Hampi. We have a this moat is there. So this is a important feature of that. And later on, fourth one is a wall walk. Wall walk means the terrace walk, platform. On the high walls inside the fort wall, there will be guarding. Guarding means pahare, for a defense purpose, for the enemy watching. Enemy is coming or attacking. There is a one kind of terrace. Terrace is there. On that, it can be enemy, and the army will go on parading there, guarding there, so that they can watch the activities outside the fort. So that I will show you later. And battlements is another important. The battlements is a part of the parapet. They are different varieties battlements you can get. The another major feature is in the forts. Major the gates. The gates, if most of the gates are very important. Every fort is a we can understand how the strongness. It depends on the how strong the gates are there. If the gates are weak, the fort is almost, it will be defeated immediately. They can be controlled. It can be taken by the enemy. That's why the gates are taken very serious for the construction, and there is variety of changes in the gates we can see. And the gates, in the front of the gates, are called Barbican Court. It's a big courtyard, which is a trap. We call it trap. Enemy will enter before entering the gates. Sometimes he will get trapped and he will be killed there. So that's called Barbican Court is there. Large courts are there sometimes inside, and batteries we call it. Batteries and batteries are very important in the later period. So that I'll be talking. And the major part is citadel complex. Citadel complex is the core of the fort, where the palaces are there, where the kings lived there, where the activities are taken place, and most of the control of the fort is controlled by the citadel complex people. So another one is the water storage. This is a very important, because inside the fort there is no communication from outside. Water has to be important, because without water nobody can survive there. That's why each fort has a special fort privileges of the water storage, which will strengthen, which can be sustain the people there. And second, third, last one is granaries are important in the forts. If you go to the forts, you have to look at the granaries. Otherwise, if the granary is empty, the enemy can easily occupy the because there is no food. People inside the people, they will come out. So most of the forts are attacked. When the enemy attacks, they they undertake the granaries under their control, so that no food will be survived given to the army. So the army will surrender to the enemies. This is why granaries are important. We have to look at them. And houses are there, and temples are there. You come across most of the forts area, temples on the top of the hills. You come across temples. You come across mosques. So it depends on who built there. You can get temples, you can get mosque, you can get the church. So it depends on this. You can get. This is just to show that how forts are constructed. On the top, this is citadel complex. On the top, priority will be taken as a citadel people. The rulers will be sitting on the top of the hill, so that you can control, you can view them. He is highly protected by the civilians, and the settlement is Pete is always on the foothills, because Pete is important, where the civilians are there. And this is the valley, where the valley you can get from the valley, from the hill, isolated hills, you can look at the entire valley, and you can see what's the enemy's activities there. So this is another one example. The fort wall is on top, and the middle you get a army settlement, like Dandanayaka or some armies. They were encamping there, they settled there. You must be knowing that very important story of Waneke Obawa. Our family was living within the fort area, within this kind of middle area. The people were army were settled there. They used to live there. So that kind of small settlements, small houses were there. They're living because only army people they can live on the top. This is priority they were given. This is for the on the top is given for the king rulers. The middle is given for the military army personnel, and the down is civilian. So these three steps you can just see. Lower is the pete, middle is the army settlement, the third one is the royal settlements. So this is the medieval character in the most of the eastern part and Malland area, even coastal area. This is the pattern you can come across. This is the aerial view of the fort. How the fort, on the top. Again, there is a separate wall for the kings, and this is the area. Middle area is meant for the army. Army with the standing army, we call it standing army, and lower fort is a civilian area. They are also army personnel, but they are officers. They are some different status. And water storage you can just, so this is the hill area. Hill, on the hillocks this fort is constructed, and you can see town is there. So this is the one example I just show you. So I will not go into deep how this one. This is how forts of the medieval forts are constructed. You can just say this is the big valley, and on the isolated hill they have selected for the construction the walls. This is the bastions and fort walls they have constructed there. So this is how the Maratha forts look. They look like now. Big terrace kind of hills they have selected for the construction of the walls of forts, and they are gadas, they call it, very important gadas. Shivaji's the entire strength, entire power is completely dependent on the forts. That's why Maratha forts are very important for understanding of the medieval society. And Maharashtra is well known for the forts of Shivaji and later. So just an example how they this is another hill fort of in Karnataka medieval, how medieval, because it was a challenging because society was facing every day there is a challenge. Anytime army, any enemy can attack from any angle. So they had every civilian, every military should be ready to face any drastic attacks. So that's why they constructed forts on the hills. They survived in in this area. They constructed on the hills, difficult to reach the even gate. So this kind of the architecture they constructed on the in hill area and river area. So this is just to show that how the gates are built within the because any army comes on the top attacking there, he may not be able to see where the gate is there. If you come across there is a gate, on the either side of the bastions, the army will be attacking on the enemy who is entering to this gate. So this narrow gate, actually, only one person can enter at one time. Big army cannot enter this gate. So this system, this kind of technology was adopted in the medieval period. So there is a check and a balance kind of things. When you enter this fort, when you enter there is a system. So the checking will be strongly made on the either side of the gates, so that army group cannot enter at a time. So this is how we can just see them. The another important gates, how the gates are constructed in this is the important technology which is developed in the medieval period. In the ancient period, they were simple. Anybody can enter anytime without much difficulties. But in the medieval period, there is a change because the pattern has started changing. In front of the gates, they constructed the another protected wall, or what you call curtain wall, which curtain wall is just in front of the gates. We call it Barbican court. Those who want to enter the gates, they have to take a L shape and enter the gate there. So this is called Barbican court. This is one example I'm just showing that this is how the main gate is on the end, but you enter a small bridge after the moat, then you enter the small courtyard, narrow courtyard, then you enter the L shape. By the time army will be watching who is coming there, so they will attack. This is kind of a trap. Suppose there is a wall, gate is closed, is not allowed to enter inside. Suppose you want to enter there, suddenly there is an attack. So this is called Barbican Court, which is the trapping area. So forts, when you enter, most of the students maybe seen that gate. When you want to enter the gate, you have to take a L shape and take a U-turn. Then only you will see the gate. So that's called Barbican Court. If it is a indigenous local rulers have constructed, you come across Anjaneya on the walls. Some Anjaneya is always found in the fort wall. Why? Because Anjaneya is symbolized as a Shakti. Shakti is the fort is the Shakti, Durga. We call it Durga. Durga is also the symbol of Shakti, the power. So Bhima and Anjaneya are considered as a powers, a symbol of powers. You remember when you go to the Hampi, Vijayanagara fort, there is called a Bhima Gate. Bhima Gate is, there is a Bhima sculpture is there. Bhima is also, all of us we know mythologically, Bhima and Anjaneya, they are brothers. They are brothers there. So this is how both are symbolized as a power, and Durga is also symbolized power. In Karnataka, in South India, most of the forts are associated with the power. That is, the Anjaneya temples are in front of the first. When you enter any village, any fort, you come across Anjaneya temple, because Anjaneya symbolizes the power. When you go to the Maharashtra, instead of Anjaneya, you come across Ganesha sculpture there. Because Ganesha is considered as auspicious for the Maratha area. That's why you come across Maratha forts. You come across instead of Anjaneya, you come across Ganesha as the beginning. In the beginning, the Ganesha temples are there, or sometimes you Ganesha in the lintel you come across. In Karnataka, in the Andhra Pradesh, Anjaneya temples are in the beginning, just to show that Bhima temple, or sometimes you get to come across Durga temple. So that's an important aspect of our technology. Our Indian Karnataka forts there. So I was talking about the gates. When you enter the gate, you have to take a U-turn. Then you see the. This is the one example. The fort wall is there on one side. One side there is another fort wall. There is a narrow passage. When you enter the passage, that's called Barbican fort. Then you enter the fort wall and you come across gate. This is how, just a diagram they're showing. Barbican court. The gates became a very prominent. Each gate is protected by the Barbican court. So this is how, just to show that the moats and fort wall in certain area bastions are there. Best example is the Bidar. If you go to the Bidar, you just see the gigantic of the fort gates that are there. Each gate is protected by the Barbican court, and there is a huge, very large passage there. When you enter the passage, there itself the enemy will be trapped or killed there. So that's why one gate to another one is, there is a big trap is there, big passage there. That passage and Barbican court actually plays the vital role for any fort of this our medieval or modern early modern period there. So this is the Malikad fort. You can just see this is bastions. I already mentioned, I showed in earlier, the square bastion, this is circular bastion. In the medieval period, the fort, most of the old Indian forts, particularly local forts were there, Angal, they were renovated according to the new technology. There is a drastic change in the pattern started changing. The bastions are important, and those square bastions, they made it sometimes square circular bastion. One wants to see how change from the square to circular. Devanalli near Bengaluru, there is a fort called Devanalli. You can just see the square bastion. Suddenly, they in the later period they have changed from the square to circular. The old one is remain there, but the outer wall they have changed there. So this is the pattern they started, because this was a necessary semicircular and circular bastions, because they want to keep the big iron cannons. Iron cannon can be rotate any angle, 180 angle or 360 angle. The bastions, if the square bastions are very difficult to take an angle. So that's why they constructed the circular bastion. Though Firangi or cannon can be rotated any angle of 360 or 180 degree, so that it won't obstruct the cannon's rotation. So this is why the pattern of the circular bastion. And also, if it is a square bastion, you have limited view there. If you go to the balcony square bastion, you have only maximum 180, less than 180 see, you can just see them. But in the circular form of a bastion, army man can stand there, he can rotate himself 360, he can look at the any activities around or outside there. That's why circular bastions are found in the most of the medieval period. Early, the square bastions were replaced and circular and semicircular were constructed there. So this is the example of Malikad. You can just see typical circular. You can just see on the top of that, somebody standing there. You can look at from there any angle there. Any angle you can. If it is square, it's difficult to look at because there is obstruction. You cannot see the other side of it. So the square, and also if it is a square, you cannot see the down what is going. In the circular, it is easy to look at the down. So you can attack on the any angle of that. That's why square bastion is not preferred in the medieval. Earlier it was a pattern, but later on it was changed to the circular. So there is also use of square. It is a limited scope for the enemies, attack or army encountering the enemy. That's why the change pattern, you can just see them. Look at this square. Suppose somebody standing at that, he cannot see down here. Person is standing here. Suppose army is standing here, he cannot see the person is standing here. He cannot see from there. That's why circular. If it is a circular, any part of that you can just see them. Any part of you can see. That's why square bastion in the medieval period was not advised, and they replaced many times. But however, some of the forts like Vijayanagara, they continued the old traditions. Even Nayakas, Madhugiris, we can talk about any Nayakas. They continued some of the forts as a square bastions, but some of them they have changed. But definitely 18th century, there is a drastic change, and most of the forts of the 18th century, they built with the only semicircular and square, circular and semicircular forts, bastions are there. Sorry, I'm not taking number. Okay. This is the Bahmani Gulbarga fort. The square bastions, you can just see Bahmani, Adilshai, Bahmani's contemporary Vijayanagara, early Vijayanagara, square bastions are there. But in the later on, the complete change from the back. Okay, battlements and storage. This is the important aspect I will be talking, how parapets actually change the pattern and the storage of particular storage, and also talking about the battlefields. This is the technology change. I mentioned that square bastions. The each sometimes you come across there is a small in the bastions, in the fort wall, there is a loopholes are there. Holes. Very long holes are there. Sometimes they are small, they are different, because that was meant to look at the enemy's activities from the this loopholes. So from the holes inside the army will look at the activities, and he will not be seen from the outside. So that technology was also adopted in the fort walls. That's why most of the forts, medieval forts, you come across small holes. They are, if you look at from the inside, you can just see the different angles of the outside. So this is the pattern of medieval forts. The bastions on the circular form with the pirangi on the top, and walls are, this is called wall walk. Person can walk on that and you can just see what is going on outside. This is the moat. So there is a difficult to enter this fort from the outside. So there is a gap. Moat is the biggest barrier. After the survival from the moat, he will encounter the big wall. If suppose he is enemy is a brave man, he can enter the wall. Then again suddenly there is a people will be army will be standing. They have to encounter. So, and on the from the top, the pirangi or big guns were used. They were attacking the enemies. This is another example. This is the Maidan open area. This is a cliff, very high cliffs are there. On the top, the fort wall is there. This is the bastion. You can just see them. So this is the wall walk. this is a land from the fort inside. Fort wall does not look like a very high wall, but if you look at from the down, it looks very high. This is the landscape. They analyze that. So why the wall walk is important? Because if there is a army is coming from outside or from enemies attacking, any army from the any corner, anywhere, you can immediately come to the gate. Wall walk is meant for the transport of important items or tools or pirangis or some army movement. So but if you go to the Chitradurga, or you can go to the Nandi fort, you will be walking all along the fort wall, because you will be walking on wall walk, terrace wall, because that will lead to the entire wall, entire fort. One can go around the fort by walking on the wall walk without entering the center part of it. So this is called wall walk. And army can be moved from anywhere and enter to the gate. When the any army comes, army attacks, enemy attacks there. So this is a wall walk used for the multi-purpose there. This wall walk also used for the pahare or guarding the fort. You'll be, two terraces are there, lower terrace and upper terrace wall walks, and the bastions are there. This is the one example just showing. There are also the pattern of octagon instead of circular. Sometimes pattern of octagon. Octagonal also, it's only just symbolically, but they are also functions are same. But angles are there. Each angle has a brackets are there. So which gives the view as well as the water flowing also, and also battlement meant for the re-attacking the army. This is a pattern which was usually we come across in Bidar, eastern Karnataka. You can get Naldurga area, that is a Maharashtra, but Bidar, most of the Bidar forts are octagonal. Even Gulbarga, some of the places where octagonal. This is a typical Persian element which is found in the defense architecture in North Karnataka, which we come across there. So this is another one. This is also double moat from the fort walls. Gulbarga, sorry, Bijapur, you come across number of Ukli Burja, you come across, Ladla Sahib Burj. Various burjas are there, which is a circular form. Adil Shahi period, suddenly there is most of the Adil Shahi forts are having a circular bastions, circular bateries, because circular was a easy method to construct, as well as it was highly advisable to constructed this is the bastion in Malkhed Fort. This is rebuilt on the old palace. So this is, you can just see them in the bateries are very important in the technological point of view. Earlier they had a battle, bastions were there, circular bastions are on the walls. But suddenly there is a change in the pattern. They started constructing the battery, because battery means the batteries. Battery is the targeting place. Pirangis are kept on the top of the batteries. This is one example in not in Karnataka, for Naldurga, one just isolated, no wall connection there. Very high circular form of bastion is there. There is a big staircase is there. On the top, you can say there is a big, massive cannon will be kept there. So with the cannon, the enemy, any part of the fort, enemy attacks on the fort, it can be re-attacked by the this battery. Battery usually target place where from the battery, the army will be encountering the enemy's activities or any enemy's attack on the fort. So this batteries in the late 18th century, 1750 onwards, this pattern you can just see in the Karnataka. Of course, it started earlier, little earlier, Adil Shahi period only, but batteries are found in most of the southern Karnataka. They are all part of the late mid of the 18th century, 1750 onwards. You get a batteries, a pattern of building the best example, Bengaluru. We have a old maps which gives the batteries locations. Inside the Pete, there was a battery. Imagine that was like a Naladurga, that was like a Upali Burj in like Bijapur. So these are the batteries inside the fort. There is a wall walk, pahare. These are the important ones, and there is also change in the pattern. I already mentioned there. So these are some of the forts. I'll just show you rapidly. This is the Bahmani Gulbarga Bahmani king built a Sagar fort. This is one of the oldest fort in Karnataka we have. This is the Bengaluru fort. Old photograph. You can just see this isolated. What's very isolated market area. This is the Bengaluru fort, old Bengaluru fort with the mud. You can just see big moat is there, circular moat, and there is a big platform is there between the wall and moat. Almost 30 feet, more than 30 feet is a gap is there. So there is no harm in damaging the ship is, but it gives a lot of space to enter, and he has whenever he enters, and army, the people will be standing there. Those army can attack on the army enemy who is try to enter the fort. This is a system in the pre-European period, which I can just mention that. So this is the Gulbarga fort. You can just see there is a very narrow passage. Suppose any enemy army enters, and he will be encountered suddenly because there is not much gap. He cannot climb immediately. So there is a attack on us. So there is a kind of a double walls. This is another one. This is a Mirjan fort, very important Mirjan fort in the coastal Karnataka, between coastal and Malnad area. It was very important for the history of Karnataka early colonial period, because Mirjan was the place where the trade centers was there. The pepper was controlled by the Mirjan rulers. So it has to be understood a different way, because it's a fort of the Malnad. It is a fort of the middle of the coastal area. How it has played very important in the trade as well as the defense. Mirjan is the one ideal place. This is the Bijapur fort. The walls, very high walls. You can just see high walls with the circular bastions. So this kind of architecture we come across. This is the Mughal fort built at Waganagira. It is a Aurangzeb's period the construction. This is a typical Mughal style of construction. You can just see, big arches, and this was rebuilt by the Aurangzeb. But you can just see this Aurangzeb Mughals architecture in this. This is Shahpur Gate in Adil Shahi's period. This is the Rayanpal, again Surpura Nayaka's fort. It is Nayakas before the construction of the founding of establishing at Shorapur. They were stationed at place called Rayanpal, very near to Kodekal in Yadgiri district, very near to Naranpur Dam. So this is one of the ruined city now. Nobody stays there, but old settlements are still visible there. But it's big fortified place. So this is called Rayanpal. Very interesting in the middle of the hilly area. Very, very difficult to access this area. This is Shahpur Fort, Hill Fort, already mentioned. On the hill itself also there is a tiers are there. Lower tier, upper tier, and upper and uppermost is there. So those who enter here, there will be a gap there, and again they have to enter, and there will be a lot of difficulties to reach on the top. This is the place where the ruler will be staying there. So this is a chain of walls. You can just see them. There is a pattern of square, pattern of circular walls are there. This is Janjira. This is Ballari fort. This is how I just mentioned that this Kappala fort. Madhugiri is also known for a very important fort. These are the granaries. Within the fort wall, there is a place. In the gate itself, there is a place. There will be storages are there. So I'll just show Manjirabad, Tipu's period. After the Portuguese entry, there is a change in the pattern of construction. Earlier they used to have the square. Now the angular. Big angulars. Projections are there. Manjirabad is one example. This is a typical European architectural style, which is borrowed from there and adopted in Karnataka. That is a Sakleshpura Manjirabad fort is the best example. In Maharashtra, in Konkan area, we get number of forts built according to the European model, but we have in Karnataka is only Manjirabad is the one example. Even Bangalore is also typical Portuguese style of architecture. Angular forts were constructed there. You can just say these are the some of the pictures of the old forts. So this is the Savandurga hill fort. You can just see there is a mud also used for the parapet wall. This is a Sandur gate. Even though it is a post Vijayanagara, but they continued the old traditions. Usually we get a main gate and small wicket gate. We call it small gate, Diddi Bagil. From this is a daily activity, daily entry. Most of the times this will be used. Once you enter inside. So this is always closed. Only important times, important period, important persons enters, this main gate will be opened. Otherwise, it's always closed there. So one has to enter only through this small wicket and enter the inside, and you this is the used day to day. But this is only occasionally this used. So this is a pattern which you get in the later period. And the parapet wall, you can just see this is a loopholes, and the parapet walls are built with the bricks and mortar are there. Plastering is also there. These are the important Kavaladurga, very important for the Keladi history. This is the pattern of hill forts, Devanali forts. This is a Chitradurga old photograph taken in 1880s by Henry Dixon. So you can just see the fort wall. Even though other Shahis were constructing circular circular forts, circular bastions, but the post Vijayanagara Nayakas, Padagaras and other Nayakas, they continued the Vijayanagara style of architecture. They did not continue the adopted the new technology, but they continued. But later on, they realized it was not they are not getting proper protection. They started a construction of the circular one. That's why what you call either Ali Tipu period, because they adopted the new technology. Nayakas, they did not adopt. That is the differences. That's why the system, the defense also played a vital important role in the most of our political system, particularly in the battle, in the defense architecture. Those who are strong enough, they could survive. Otherwise, they could not survive there. So the best example is the Chitradurga. Although it is a very strong, but they call it very strong. But if you say technology, it is not that technology adopted there. Technology which is adopted only after the British they reconstructed the fort. You can just see many of the reconstruction by the British in the Chitradurga can be seen in the literature as well as the inventory, which is a Mackenzie has given to us. This is a Sirah Fort map. This is prepared by Mackenzie. This is what I was talking about, the battles, the targets, how much the target can be, one for bastions to another bastion, from bastions to bastion, how target should be there. This is how the diagram is mentioning there. So this is the Bellary Fort. Interestingly, Bellary, you can get a bastion on the top, projected very big beam kind of boulder used for the construction of the bastion. This is the old photograph of the Bellary fort. So this is the Bellary fort, new fort. You can just see there's a British activities. This is a typical British style of parapet wall. The steps is there, and fort wall is there. This is a terrace kind of wall walk is a typical British. This can be seen in the Chitradurga. This can be seen in the Nidigal. This can also be seen in Bellary. Is a good example there. So Chandragati Fort, the number of forts are there. You can just see them. I will not go very detailed, but just to show. There is also important in the pattern of technology. Each fort has a separate place called stables. Trained horses, elephants were they are part of the battles. They were kept in the stables. The layas, we call it in Kannada. Satellite settlements also this is also interesting in the fort architecture in the later period. Each fort has a suburbs. That gives a lot of civilian servants, and also it gives a lot of support to the main fort area. That is always you get here in this. So in the 18th century, this just generalize how Nizam practiced age-old method of pitching the battle. This is a typical Mughal style of pitching the before battle. They use the army comes and pitching there, then they target the notice, and so there is a why Marathas gained the power, because they could occupy many things, because they adopted the guerrilla war. Guerrilla war, surprising attacks on the, because forts were taken into the control, and from the forts they used to attack on the army and surprise them, confuse them, and control them, and defeat them. This is the tactics of the Marathas. It is basically based on the fort as a center places. And why Marathas and even Tipu Sultan, because army, which is the highly disciplined artillery fighting, they were trained by the British. One example, British Army, that kind of confronting is there by the British. That's why there is a why English Army, one after one, most of the forts were occupied by the British, because the tactics was different from the previous one, Marathas, as well as the Nizam, as well as the Tipu. So this reflected in our fort architecture as well as the battlefield. In the most of the battlefield, you can just see them. The Pirangis are, cannons were, on the wheels. They are taken and they used for the battle. In the battle, this is a typical army. Discipline is more important in the 19th century. Most of the battles, British Army time, discipline is the primary. If there is a discipline among the army, any fort can be easily occupied by the enemy. This is they understood the British, and they introduced the discipline in the most of the their army. Earlier, Panipat, you must have seen. You have seen many battles why British were gaining one after one, because they had a batch wise. Each one has a battle, regiment, we call it at present regiment. Regiment means one regiment is a particular trained, and they will perform that one and come back. Another, artillery, for example, artillery will hit the one, then they will go back, cavalry will come. Look, disciplined army is played a vital role in from the late 19th century, middle of the 19th century. That's why British could easily occupy most of the forts, where later on became a secondary this one. So that's what I want to argue there. So next I'll just show the house people were living there, because one has to live in the fort walls. They have to be survive with many equipments like water, food, and other things. Just show how the pattern of storage. Usually the hill forts are natural. So within the natural cavities, the water will be stored. Sometimes, they will make a small dam kind of walls, small dam walls, so that water can, remain forever. After the rainy season, water will remain. It will survive for a particular period, like 3 months, 4 months. That will be enough for the army to live there. So this is in the most of the fort area, you come across small. Sometimes they are man-made, sometimes they are natural. So we have to document them. How much accumulation of water, gallons of water can accommodate there? How many people can live with this water? Based on that, you can calculate the how many people were living in the fort. This is how we can calculate. We can understand the fort construction as well as the settlement pattern. How many people, demography. It can also give a vital clues. So this is a example how this is fort wall, but also gives the protection for the water to not to drain, because water will be stored there, water will be stored here, so that there is a small wall, there is also a big wall, fort wall. So this water will survive for it can also survive for at least 100 people or less than 100 people for a period of 1 month or 2 months. In the rainy season, it will always accommodate. After the rainy season, it will be remain for a month or 2 months. And outer this wall, if there is a big water storage there, this entire area can make people to survive for a month or 2 months. Based on that, we can accommodate. You can calculate how many people were living in the fort area. So that can be studied. The water storage is remarkable in the fort, Illi fort area. Even in that's why we get a Baudis. Baudis means a big, Pushkarnis, big. Most of the forts, they have a big Kalyanis. Kalyanis are what we call it. There are water storages. So if there is a big Kalyani, there is a big settlement. If there is a narrow, if it is a small, it means that there is a small settlement. Based on the Kalyani size, we can understand how much the area or settlement was there. So just to show that, so water storage system, how natural caverns. Akatangi Bavi is very famous in most of the Karnataka forts. Akatangi Bavi and other. So these names are given later, but Ram Tirtha, Lakshmana Tirtha. If it is a bigger one, Ram Tirtha. Smaller one is Lakshmana Tirtha. If it is a bigger one, Akkana Bavi. Smaller one, Tangi Bavi, Akatangi Bavi. We call it. They are joined together. So these are the names, but they are basically the water storages are there. So we can just see in the fort. Within the fort, there is a deep ditch, and water will be stored there. Without water, it's very difficult to survive that. This is a Sakleshpura Manjarabad center of the storage of the food is very important. Without food, most of the battles are they target only food item. They will they will break the water tanks. If there is no water, people inside of people, they will come out and the fort will be surrendered. Similarly, the storage of food is also, granaries are very important. Oil is also very important. Ammunition powder is also, 3 items are important in the any fort area. So to protect them, this kind of constructions are always found there. They are underground sometimes. They are in the middle of the place. They are put on the top. So these are the survival storages. This is called Tuppada Kola, ghee storage, because in the battle, in the most of the battle, the iron is used as a tools to kill the enemy. So there is any injuries. The treatment is the old ghee is used for the treatment of the any injuries. If they apply the ghee, it kind of has a septic kind, antiseptic kind of activities. So that's why most of the forts you come across Tuppad Kola, Enne Kola, very well made granaries will be there, or storages are there. So it is used for the storing the old ghee, which can use as a antiseptic for the enemy's attack. So these are the gunpowder. When the gunpowder introduced there, they use this kind of constructions. So pyramidal kind of terrace, so that it is used for the gunpowder, so that it will be, sometimes they are underground, below the ground, sometimes they are on the deep ditch kind of things. So these are the common in the 19th century, 18th century forts are, these are the common Madinamani we call it there. Armory. This is the Pavagada underground Madinamani is there. That is a armory is there. So building palace. This is the common. This is the Hampi fort. Kamal Mahal. All palaces are concentrated only certain area. That's called Citadel complex. Citadel complex is sometimes their entry is very gigantic, very symbolic. When you enter, you get a ruined city, ruined palace structures like this. This is Ratnagiri. This is the Uttara. So the hammams are in the, if it is a Islamic towns, hammams are very common. Hammams is the bathing place. So steam bath place. This is the typical Islamic forts like Bidar, like Gulbarga, like Firozabad, Bijapur. You common features you can come across. This is if it is a Hindu Hindu forts or Hindu local you usually come across temples are there. So this is a Gudibande fort. You can just see there is a water. Any water to drain out, there is a system. They built elevated. There is a gaps are given so that water can easily come out from there. So this is the Gummanakanapalde. This is a later period fort. So how the people are living. This is an example of just on the rock. They make a small holes, and they put the wood sticks there so that what you call tent kind of things. So they were surviving within that. Construction of the wall is very interesting because there is no basement, there is no foundations. On the top of the hill we have to construct. What they used to do, they used to construct they used to make a sockets. On the socket they used to put the hard rocks. On that, the wall is constructed so that it won't slope down, it won't fall down. So what fort wall can easily construct on the this kind of slope hillocks. So this technology was much found in the medieval period. How the people were living, people, all the time there are not battles, but people has to survive there. So they, now we have an entertainment like TV is there, mobile is there. Earlier people, they had only little opportunities, particularly when you come across most of the forts area on the some certain place, you come across this engravings. Each engraving is meant for the playing the games. So kind of people, they on the they make game boards, and whenever they get time they used to play there. This is how one has to document them. Based on that, you can, if you document all this, you can understand how the people were living, how they living in the hill, because each hill is isolated area. It's not easily accessible. If the person going one village to one village, he will not be able to meet his friend if it's in the within the fort wall. If he has to meet, he has to take a leave and he has to go out of the or they have to enter. That's difficult. So they have to pass the time. They used to make game boards. You come across number of game boards in the Illy Fort area, some in the temple jagalis. So these are the documents we have to make. Documents, you can understand how people are making use of the fort area, and these are the just documented when I visited them. So I will not go on. Already my time is up now. I'll just, so firearms already mentioned, which has drastically changed in the pattern of, this is the wall walk which I was talking about, the people. So people can watch loopholes. So this is a typical late late medieval period forts, wall walk with a high wall, parapet wall with the low poles, so that they can watch from the inside. So this is the battery and other things which I already mentioned. When the introduction of the cannons, the batteries and bastions, the pattern they changed. The platform they put on the platform, wooden casket will be put on the that, and this will be cannon will be placed on that, so that it can be rotate any angle. These are the loopholes which I already mentioned. You can just see from the each angle different activities. These are the this one. Madhyan Mane is very important, and cannons were used. You can just see how the cannons were placed on the fort area. This will just show the manufacturing person's company name also. Sometimes if you are lucky, you can see very carefully each iron cannons, document properly who made these cannons or the factory name. Sometimes if it is a indigenous Indians, you come across inscriptions in the Persia. If it is made by the Portuguese, sometimes you come across European letters, English letters, or European letters. So you document, you can understand where this origin of the Pirangi or cannon were prepared. That can be studied, that can be documented, and this will be very important for scholars to understand. So I'll not go very. This is the Manjirabad. I was talking about the Portuguese influence or European forts. If you look at the French forts, if you look at the most of the European forts are angle, star shape. Each angle, each angle, because it's easy. One can see on the top, and you can just see the this part. You can he manage the entire this angles. He can be one place he can easily manage. So this is a typical, but in Karnataka it was not accepted. Maybe only certain area. This is Tipu's one fort is only Mangalore Konkan area. Of course, some of the forts are constructed according to the European model. So just to show you. So anyway, these are the small forts of this area, 45 cities. Just take 1 minute. How 45 cities became urban settlements. If you look at the talukas of today's talukas in Karnataka, mostly they have fortified settlements, ancient old fort. If you look at the Koppala, Koppala was also fort. If you look at the Bijapur fort, if you look at the Bagalkot fort. So why I'm talking, because fort was an essential part of the urban settlements in medieval period. Those survived, and now today we have a oblis and talukas are fortified place. That is the continuation you can just see. So this similar pattern, what I'm talking, if you want to identify as a settlement, as an urban settlement, that has to have the port is there compulsory. It can be capital towns, it can be provincial headquarters, based on the depends on that. So each urban settlements has a pattern. They are built if it is an for example, Akatiyas or Vijayanagara, they built it is built according to the local mandala system, Shastric model. If it is a Islamic monument, they are built according to the Persian as well as the Islamic traditions are there. So that we can just see this is a typical Indian style of forts with the temple as a center of the place. So this is the Hampi, the urban settlement. You can just see how urban settlements in the fort area, within the fort area. This is the Gulbarga fort is separated from the village town. This is isolated from the town because this is meant for only sultans, and this is for the other civilians. So there is a gap is there. So this is a Devanalli. Within the fort area, we can get the settlement is there. This is the Firozabad Islamic city. On the bank of the Bhima, there is a separate big square, almost semi-square kind of fort town is there. There is a separate place called Palace area, Citadel, which is meant for only sultans. So this system you can just see in the and Masjidi and others are very important in this. This is the Bidar fort, two segment. This is the fort area and this is the Peti area. So similar pattern we can get in Karnataka. That is in Gulbarga. We can see get the get the Bengaluru is a, you can just see Bidar and Bengaluru. There is a similarity. You can just see them. This is the Bijapur circular model, and the center of the city is the fort area where the palaces are there. So just to show how urban settlements as well as the technology which was survived from the ancient to up to colonial period, the systems they continued. And this is the Delhi Red Fort. Just to show the Red Fort of the old drawing on the Yamuna, on the edge of the Yamuna, this Shahjahanabad built by Shahjahan. Still it is so I'll not go very rapid. This is the Badami Fort. This is Anagundi Fort. Anagundi Fort. This is Sagar, Bangalore. This is Nargund. This is another fort. This is just to show how projected bastion with the gate. So this is basically meant for the gate, so that once when you enter, it's a big gap is there inside. So this to show that how narrow staircase with the fort wall. So this is Belgaum Fort, Mirjan. This is Gajendragad. This is Bijapur. So I know this is Wagner. I already mentioned. I already shown. This is the Kalavara Betta near Bangalore, Nandi Hills. So with this, I end my lecture. So once again, I thank organizers, particularly President of Mythics Narahari sir, as well as Nagaraj sir, giving me this good opportunity to share my thoughts on this 2021. So I thank Dr. Jaisimha sir and as well as Prasanna, and I thank my friends Dr. Kotresh, Anuradha for this opportunity. Once again, I thank all the scholars gathered here and listening to me. So I thank all of you. Thank you very much. So over to Jaisimha sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. The time is already up, but we'll take up a couple of questions and then we'll conclude, sir. There is a question by Dr. Vittal
Okay,
Poddar.
please, sir.
It says whether the forts of Karnataka built for defensive or offensive strategy.
Yeah, both, sir. Built for both defensive as well as offensive system, because when the army attacks, it should for the defending the area, as well as the for offense also it is a multi-purpose, sir. And most of the forts are which usually we come across. Of course, they are meant for the protecting the civilian, but later on became a symbolizer in the form of the power symbolism. The fort became a one kind of, suppose if you look at the Vadas, uh, they are actually, it's a kind of a protected area. So certain people, eminent elite people are lived there. In the medieval period, this entire settlement is provided with the security. So that's what my argument is there, sir.
Yeah. So there is thank you very much, sir. There's another question by Krishna CS. Is there any difference in fort architecture between Vijayanagara and Bahmani Sultans?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I already mentioned that Vijayanagara rulers, they continued the old Indian local, square bastions. They did not perform the adopted the which was coming from the Delhi Sultanates. For example, circular model bastions, semicircular model bastions, and the Pirangis, battle in the battle. They did not use the most of the time. They did not use the this gun and gunpowder. So there is, but adaptation of the Vijayanagara architecture, fort architecture is the traditional architecture they adopted. Whereas the Burmese, Bidar, if you look at the Bidar and Hampi, there is a drastic change. You can just see octagonal bastions. The gates are very important, and gates are not just only ordinary arched gate. They have a check and entry. There is not a there are wicket gate, as well as the each gate has a with a barbican court. Whereas Vijayanagara, we didn't have any. Most of the gates are open. They are without barbican courts. So that adaptation technology was not adopted by the Vijayanagara defense architecture, sir. But Bahmani and Adil Shahis, of course, the two different technology they adopted together, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Padmaja Desai has a question. What is the role of Vanadurga? And there is also another question by Padmaja Desai. What is the difference between Bavadi and Kalyani?
Sir, first question is the Vanadurga is a forest, what you call fort in the within the forest area, meant to multi-purpose, sir. Usually, of course, to keep away or keep enemy away from the attack, and also a large enemies, wild animals will be there. So it's difficult to enter the Vanadurga. Number one. Number two, Vanadurga also is used as a shikari place. Shikari is the kings. He wants to go for a shikari. It's like a lodge, so that he will be living there, and from there he will be. Sometimes Vanadurga, which we also used as the camping the army for posting the army for time being. So Vanadurga is used multi-purpose, sir. But in the Vanadurga, you don't get civilians. Many regular civilians will not be there. Only military purpose, sir. Second question is Baudi and Kalyani. Both are the functions are same. Functions are same. Baudis are built with the arched, pavilions. Sometimes you get a pavilions around the Baudis, so it can be used for the pleasant place. Those who wants to go and like a picnic, they can be stay there, and also it can also be used as a chatras in the Baudis. Whereas the Kalyani is meant for only water storage, where you can perform your pujas, your rituals. In the Baudi is a different, but both are storage of water, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Bhuvaneshwari, yes, has a question. Are there any ancient
Okay.
texts other than Arthashastra that speaks about forts?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Many texts are there, sir. Samarangana Sutradhara also talks. Various ancient texts, they talk about the various typological construction of the. Even they advocate how to build also. So building technology and battle technology, they all given in the text, sir.
Sir, same, and another question by Bhuvaneshwari. What main reasons recorded by archaeologists for the loss of forts between 1840 to 21st century? You
Yes, sir.
mentioned.
The major reason. Yeah, major reason is the 1857 first war of independence, 1857 revolt. Actually, they shaken the British, entire British governing bodies, because they did not realize there is a lot of kind of rebels will be there. But entire rebellion is based on, centered on the forts. Those who have a forts like Delhi, they went all the way to Delhi and controlled the Delhi fort. And in Karnataka, Koppala, Naradurga, and other places, forts were the primary, the protect the enemies for the British. So they wanted to dismantle the forts. If the forts are remained with the control of the certain people, they will always rebel. That's why they dismantled. Bengaluru is the best example. It was dismantled after the 1840s, 40s only, so that people can walk around and there will not be any civilian get a protection from the military. So this is the biggest major one. And the second major is, it was not a, because most of the times British were everywhere. They were controlling the civil as well as the military, both they were controlling. There was no pattern of the battles taking place, so there was no question of having a force, keeping the force. It's unhygienic, became unhygienic, and also congested within the fort. People were difficult to live because plague entered. Suddenly plague is there. There is a in the fort area, people die more than the outside. So fort became irrelevant in the late 1850 onwards. That's why we get a dismantling of the forts one after one. Only hills, which is inaccessible to the people, are not living on the hills. Forts are still survival there. Otherwise, most of the hills, most of the forts on the land, they have we have lost them there. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you, sir. There is another question by Saumitri. The question is,
Okay.
are there any term used for Elu Suttina Kote? So were there
Mhm.
such layers of forts found?
Sir, Yolu Suttina Kote, it's a, usually we come across many, most of the villages they talk of, forts are called as a Yolu Suttina Kote. Basically, just to mention that why they use Yolu Suttina Kote is to say that it's a uh, difficult and very highly defensed fort. Otherwise, there is no 7 rings, and forts are surrounded by the 7 rings of walls. But basically, this is the what I understand. Yolu Suttu is the Yolu Janma, Yolu Samudra. So the same pattern, this has been connotation has been used. Otherwise, you have one or two layers of the fort just to in front of the gates. When there is a valley, there will be curtain walls one after one. Otherwise, you never get a 7 round circle of fort walls, which I never come across. Maybe it's only assumption, I feel it.
Thank you, sir. We have come to the final part, the vote of thanks. Thank you very much for the wonderful talk you've given on the technology of the forts. Mm, I hope this would be the end of the question session. Uh, so this was a wonderful topic on the conception of fort architecture. The session threw light on the conception and the genesis on the wonderful fort architecture. The fort itself was a game of camouflage, where low light,
Oh,
spiked doorways, um, circular walls, locking the enemy. All these things was itself a technological affair of those times. So, this session, this lecture, this talk was enlightening on such areas. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you on behalf of, I thank on behalf of the managing committee, the president, secretary, and other managing committee members on behalf of Mythic Society. And I also thank all the listeners, all the participants who were there in this session. Thank you to Dr. S.K. Aruni again. Uh, uh, yes, sir. Thank you
thank you,
very much.
Jason, sir. Thank you. So nice it was. Yeah, enlightening me for many scholars they have attended here. I thank all of them. Dr. Chudamani, Madam, Siddhan Gowder, Mysore Nagaraj sir. So I thank all of them. So once again, I thank Mythic Society. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye bye, sir. Bye. Thank you.